Today I'm attempting to recreate two outfits that TYLA has worn, operative word attempting, this one which she wore in her performance at New Year's Rockin' Eve, and this one which she wore in her Truth or Dare music video. Now these are both insane. Like, one thing I love about TYLA is that she wears a lot of handmade original pieces from designers, and it's such a specific style. I love looking at the behind the scenes from each creator. Anyway, okay, we're gonna start from the bottom and then make our way up into the pièce de résistance of the outfits, if you will. Starting with this outfit first, we're gonna make these flare lace pants. I got some black lace fabric at my aforementioned local fabric store. The only problem is that it isn't that stretchy at all. I suggest if you want to make this and you are a person with thighs, you should go stretchier. 4-way stretch gives you the most ease. But I just traced my tight-fitting flare pants and cut it out, adding a lot of seam allowance to be safe. You can use leggings to trace or any tight pants, just cut out these general shapes. I sewed the crotch parts first, then attached the front and back parts at the sides, and then you do the inside. I put a pin at the center crotch part first so I wouldn't be all lopsided, and then freehand sewed the rest. I actually forgot to put a lot of seam allowance at the top, so instead of folding over twice, I just put a zigzag stitch at the end. You can use a serger if you have one. Then I folded it over once, sewed, and inserted the elastic. So for the white outfit, she has these off-white shorts, and I already actually made these way back for another project I was trying. Mine doesn't have a seam at the crotch because I actually traced underwear for this pattern and just made the leg part longer. There are strings of fabric attached to these shorts, probably hand sewn on, but I wanted the ease of being able to take this part on and off. So I just cut a long piece of this faux fur I also found at that fabric store, and then when putting it on, I just tie it in the back. So I hot glued a bunch of random cut pieces of all this white lace, fur, etc. fabric that I found lying around. I tried to match the original and keep a few pieces really long. I've been hot gluing too much in my life because I realized I just immediately press down on the glue to dry it, but it's like literally burning. Like it's a little covered by the fabric, but I was working with lace, so that's just all going on my fingers. Anyway, the skirt/belt thing for the other outfit had a lot more going on and a lot heavier fabrics and materials, so my base fabric was sturdier and non-stretchy. This piece of fabric was about the size of my hip measurement, and to put it on my body, I attached long black lace pieces to the ends afterwards. I have a lot of random things I could use, like old belts, random pieces of fabric. We're not gonna try to make this exact, we're just going for the vibes. I have a reference photo right here. So after like 2 minutes, I completely abandoned filming like this because it was just so much easier to work off the dress form. I sewed on the belts first, and I don't know, if you're trying to make this, you gotta scour around. Like, it is not fun to buy all these pieces separately. And some things I painted so it could match better, like the belt and all of these fur pieces. I just use my hands to paint because it's so much easier than a brush, and it's one less thing to clean. I hand sewed on these bracelets and necklaces to try to emulate the bead section on her. I sewed them through the belt loop so I didn't have to go through that thick belt the whole time. The hardest part is the feathers, like God, that gets everywhere. I had some lying around from a previous project that I worked on, and I left a trail everywhere I moved. It's definitely so chaotic overall, and I don't know if I love it or hate it, but I can't linger on it for too long because we have to make the next stop. I already drafted this general shape on me months before, so I just had to see if I could work around it. I have it on my dress form. We're gonna try to use this fabric to somehow form it over, make the fur lie in a place that I like. This looks good, right? I'm gonna be asking that question this entire time. Now it's time for the scary part, cutting. I'm gonna be very generous with this. Okay, this thing I'm doing here is pretty much useless. Initially, I thought I would make the base fabric this fur and then just hand sew lace pieces on it, but I didn't like how it looked. It was just too thick. You couldn't see all the details, so I still needed a firmer base. This piece is what I drafted, and I used this dress that I'm not gonna wear to trace out the shape. I did make adjustments to the piece I drafted. Like, initially I had this part curves out more, but I think the tension of the strip holding the pieces of fabric together will make that shape anyway, if that makes sense. I don't know. I cut 2 pieces for each side, and I sewed them together with the strip in the middle for both. I sewed the edges right side to right side, but this meant afterwards I had to turn it inside out through this small hole at the top. And oh my god, I have never had to use as much force as something as I did pulling this thing out. It was stuck in this formation that at first I called a butter sock, but let's move on. But I finally turned it all out and I ironed it, which kind of didn't do much, so I top stitched it. So then it was time to embellish the top, and I wanted to be all official with it, so I hand sewed everything instead of hot glue. Again, I was working with the same bunch of white fabrics. I cut pieces off and placed them a little randomly, but with intention. This took a long time, like 8 hours, and I was still working on it. I also glued down some rhinestones later. I actually really like how this turned out. I think the different textures look pretty good together, and it's fun to wear because it's fuzzy. Then it was time for the second top. I've been keeping this to the end because I genuinely don't know how to do it. And that's a present tense. I don't know. I still don't know. The top is like a little fox laying on its tail, and I didn't even realize that until like my third watch. It's made of sequins that maybe are individually placed, but honestly that sounds like a nightmare to do, so I want to try painting it. I've never actually painted sequins before. I've been trying to look up how to do it, but every time I do, I just find tutorials for how to paint sequins on like canvas. Okay, but the first thing is drafting. I was looking at a mirrored image of the top to make things easier to draw it on me. I think I got the shape here, but I did end up adding like 2 inches around it to avoid a public indecency charge. I put on a black shirt to see it better, and it kind of looks fine, right? Like, I could work with that. I got some secret fabric that I actually saw while I was looking for the Sabrina corset fabric, and I thought then, like, I should get this for that TYLA top. I placed what I drafted on the fabric and cut it out, again with a lot of space around. The main problem I have is that I don't know how to make it hold its shape to look enough like a fox. I do have the fabric already, but it's very stretchy and flimsy, and I'm not sure what to put under it. Maybe felt, but it also has to form around my body somehow, so maybe I should make them cups. I ended up using these basic foam sheets from Michaels. If you have a retroactive suggestion for what I could use, please tell me. I definitely know there's a better way. But I traced the sequin piece on the foam, cut the foam a little smaller, and then just hot glued the fabric around it. I think theoretically you could make this whole top too without sewing. Now it's time for paint, and the very moment my paint covered foam brush touched the fabric, I thought, okay, maybe I'm not gonna post this video. This isn't any special paint, by the way. I really just used the basic acrylic paint. I worked on the tail first and then tried to define the fox head with some shading. I put on these gems that I got from Michaels for eyes and nose. I was looking for diamonds, but hearts were like the closest shape I could find for eyes. I made the little ears with extra foam and I hot glued them on. I hot glued everything in place too, like the fox head laying on the tail. This is when my mom saw it and she exclaimed, "Oh, I see it, it's a rat!" To keep the fox top in place on me, I cut these little loops out of ribbon and I placed them at 3 points, the top and at the sides for the cord to go through. This part I actually sewed on. I just hot glued it at first, but I laced things up pretty aggressively so it instantly snapped. The cord, I don't know where I got it. Just look up parachute cord and don't pay more than $3. And well, that's pretty much it. The last thing is just, for some reason I also completely forgot to make these leg warmers, even though they're a pretty big part of the outfit, so we're just adding this at the end like I did. So I measured the circumference just above my knee. I had to use what I had left of this swimsuit cover-up as fabric. Basically cut out this layered shape. The top measurement is the circumference you just did, and then this is however long you want it to be. Get your measuring tape if you want to make this. Fold it in half and then sew along this line. Then I folded down the top and I added an elastic that was a little less than the circumference so it could fit snug. And then I did what I've been doing. I just hot glued a bunch of pieces of fabric. The best thing about these is that they perfectly hide moderate bleeding below the knee. Okay, let's put them on. I think a problem I had with both of them is that they don't lay flat. I probably could have fixed that by making this part an actual cup and then making this into an actual bodysuit, but you know. So my main problem when I finish these projects is just like, where do I wear them? Like this white fit, I can probably just wear to a club or something with a denim mini skirt and call it a day. But this one, I don't know. It's just like, who brought the fox? But my friends have been telling me to go outside, so I thought I would try it out and simultaneously try to find something to do in this fit. I stepped into the light and I made my way to a tree to read one of my favorite novels, Good Job Kanani. Overall, it was a good 20 to 30 second experience, and I would recommend it if you try sewing this outfit out for yourself. Well, thank you. That is pretty much it. If you have any opinion at all on what I should make next, definitely tell me, because that is greatly appreciated. You can comment it, you can DM me a picture of what you want me to make with a threat of your choice if I don't come through. I don't really mind. Thank you for watching the Sabrina video if you did. If you didn't, then it may pop up in 2 seconds. Thank you, bye.